I'm Hannah Hicks. I am a photographer for the Dallas and Seattle area, and I was their photographer not too long ago. So we're just going to chat a little bit about their experience and all the fun things they went through, and maybe even some of the stuff they would have changed if they could.
Where do we start? Well, we could start prior to the wedding day, but honestly, the wedding day has kind of just made everything a bit more at ease for me personally. I don't know about you, but we met almost 7 years ago. So it was 2 years of engagement before the wedding even happened. So we were engaged for 2 years before we had our wedding. And yeah, I mean, we've just been cruising. We're pretty much like sedentary people. We stayed 6 years in the same apartment complex, and now we're in a house together. And so that's pretty much some of us right now.
Did you buy? Did you move? Are you homeowners?
We are not. No, we are renting.
Oh, praise.
Yeah. No, we would have
You don't
bought
have to deal with any problems.
No, yeah, especially with the weather right now, we're like, ooh, not my pipes. Not my pipes. Not my pipes.
Right. I remember when you first reached out, it was, it was so far out. For Dallas, usually people even wait till the last to start hiring people, which is crazy to me. But you guys were so ahead of the game. And I was like, are you sure you want to, you good? You want to book now? You ready? We're like, yes, we want to get all this done and ready and off our plates and out of our minds. So, which was sad for me, because then we did our engagement session and we had so much fun. And then we had to wait. We had to wait for the wedding to happen.
Definitely felt that way. Well, we had actually gone to somebody's wedding, and I had always been a big wedding person. Like, I want to get married. And around that time, the kind of idea of it had changed for me. And Bree and I went to a wedding, and Bree was set. She was like, oh, I want to have a wedding. And then shortly after, we got engaged. And so all that time between like that one wedding and then me proposing to her, she had already started like a whole Pinterest board and was like in on the scene. I know she had come across your pictures, and she had kept doing. She's like, I like her, but I'm gonna keep searching. No, it's just not the same. It's not the same. It's not the same. She's like, I found her, and it was like already ready by that point for her. So Bree was definitely the one who she played. Having experienced vendors who take charge in a sense, like you know what you want, but they know how to make it happen.
Yeah,
you know?
Exactly. If decisions you made or problems start to arise, or maybe even like family drama, right? You're not really in a great place as the brides to deal with that, right? If we have done this a time or two and we know we've made sure to pay attention to what your vision is, we kind of fight for you in that moment. You know what I mean? Like you said, you have the vision, but we have the tools. We know how to get it done, so that even when it becomes almost a conflict of like that something else has to happen, and we need to problem solve, we know what you want. We will just take care of it. We will fix it. We will pivot, whatever it is, so that you still get that outcome. And you're not the one who has to like call those shots or deal with it on what should be like your day to just exist and participate. So
that definitely must have.
That was probably one of the things that we came out realizing was the most valuable.
So I would love to ask, if it's cool, since you had such a long time to figure out your vision, hire vendors, vet people, really get to know yourselves and what you want from the day. Did you feel like it was difficult planning all of that and reaching out to vendors, being the fact that you're two brides? Did that ever make any of it stressful or difficult? Did you even difficulty finding vendors? Was that an issue at all, or was it actually like a much better process than you expected?
I didn't go into it thinking that we were going to have any issues. And then when we did start reaching out to people, I don't think we came across anybody that was that treated us any differently than were we a straight couple. I mean, there was one venue that we went to where the person who had walked us through was a little bit dismissive, but other than that, we really didn't run into anything that made us feel any less than two people getting married. And I didn't go into it thinking that we were going to have any issues, but I know then when we did our proposal shoot with you, or our engagement shoot with you, you had asked us, and I was like, I didn't even think about it. And so I kind of had that knowledge then in the back of my mind when I was reaching out, but no, we didn't run into any discrimination really at all.
No, not with vendors. I think our biggest thing was more of like personal, especially within like family or friends and stuff like that. But vendor wise, it made it feel even. It's definitely a process I appreciated going through. It definitely solidified more of like just the nature of our relationship is just something to just look at as a relationship, But yeah, no, I don't think we experienced too much, if any at all.
I love that though. And I can definitely say that I like your whole vendor team on the wedding day and the people who were present for you, the guests in your family, the whole energy was just so celebratory. Like they're like, I mean, I didn't even struggle with any of the vendors. Like, there wasn't any tension with everyone getting their jobs done and getting what they needed to do at the same time. It was just such a teamwork situation. All for the purpose of making sure that your day was the best possible. Every person there, every vendor was very dedicated to making sure that you had a great experience. And that just, I mean, obviously it's in the results. It was a great day and it shines in the photos too. Everything literally looks magical. I'm going to stitch in some of the pictures from your ceremony, but like even the sunlight decided to like make a weird, strange, magical spotlight on your face and do this thing. Like, I don't know what happened. I don't know who did what, but it was just literally every piece of that day together like nothing else.
I really felt the same way. And what kind of solidified it for us was all of our guests that were in attendance left saying similar things. Like it was just, there's one thing to say congratulations, but then to have that kind of personal opinion on it. A lot of people keep their opinions about your wedding to themselves, especially if it's one way. It's more of like a generic congrats. But everyone left wishing we could do another something. We were just like, you have something else you can celebrate? Do you have what else? Just because everyone was in great spirits and we were surrounded by people that I'm almost positive we're always going to have in our lives for the rest of them, which I think made it even better for us. Because, I think a lot of times you can get caught up in wanting to surround yourself with more. But I think through the 2 years of being engaged, we realized that the quality was so important in who we surrounded ourselves with rather than the quantity. Quality over quantity for your guests, for sure. It made the difference.
I didn't even like during the reception, I couldn't even just randomly point my camera anywhere and not get smiles and laughter and everything else. Like it made it almost way too easy.
I loved it. We were able to see that were able to get pictures of almost every guest.
Mm-hmm.
I know. Yeah, literally everyone was just everywhere. You couldn't take a bad picture of anybody.
I was trying so hard. We're planning on printing off one photo of everybody that you got and just sending it with your thank you card. You literally got everybody.
Oh my God. That's such a good idea. Ooh, people take note. That's a good one right there. Add their picture in the thank you notes.
So I think everyone took it.
Obviously, the whole day was just some weird kind of magic. But if you could boil it down to a part of the day that really was your favorite, it was like when you were experiencing it, you were like, oh, wow, this is it, right? This is why we did this. If there was a moment like that, what was that for you?
For me, it was finally seeing like Nikki walk down the aisle and hear her vows. I know that was kind of what we were most nervous about, was how everything was going to come together, how her dress was going to come together, because she had a long battle of struggling whether she liked her dress or she didn't like her dress. She altered it in all sorts of ways. I had heard we hadn't seen each other's dresses. It was a surprise on the day of. And so I was really nervous for her, and I was hoping that she was going to love it. And then seeing her finally walk down and just having her having my eyes on her and watching her walk down and then hearing her vows, I mean, it just came together perfectly. And that was probably my favorite part.
Yeah. Were you surprised at each other's dresses?
No, I think that hers was pretty much exactly what I had guessed, and mine was pretty much exactly what she had guessed.
Yeah, apparently, my hairstylist was asking me in the back because she could see Bree getting ready, but I couldn't. Because what do you think she's wearing? I just want to know how well you know each other. And I just started saying, well, it's like this, it's like that. This is what I feel. The only thing I can't decide is this. And I had gotten everything right except for that one question area. So I was like, it's pretty good. Pretty good.
I know. I was amazed at how both gowns were really completely different styles, and yet together, oh my God. Like, I know the videographer, while we were trying to take turns, like to get footage and not be in each other's way the whole time, he was like, I almost don't know what to do because both of them together, like both dresses, how do I do both dresses justice at the same time? And their hair and like they're both actually perfect. I was like, I don't know what to tell you, but even like the way that they're standing in the sunlight, we don't have to do much at all. They're happy together, and we
just happy together.
That's so awesome. I know
when
I
were giggling the whole time. Like, you see the photos. I mean, you were just like, there was no RBF that we had to remind you about.
So we were conflicted when I think it was the videographer asked us what like kind of thing we want for our video. Do we want it like moody or cinematic?
Oh, yeah.
And we messed up by clicking moody because we realized we aren't like that. So I was like, we should have never clicked moody.
That is kind of like, we want it to be like sexy, stoic, serious, but we're just not those people, you know. And I think we're reaching for the stars, but it came out looking really good.
Whatever. I'm excited. We haven't got the video back on the photos. I was like, oh, I remember this. I couldn't stop laughing. I was just like, I couldn't.
I tried to like kind of pose you to do some things, and like just couldn't stop giggling. And I was like, we're gonna run with this. It's stupid cute. It doesn't matter. Like,
I should have known myself. I should have known.
So a question, I guess, on that too, since you did also have a videographer present, what were your priorities when you were looking for a videographer? What was there anything that helped you nail down who you picked and why, anything like that?
A big thing for me was that I wanted it to look like a movie. Like, I didn't want it to look like a home video. I wanted it to be like a professional, like very cinematic, almost like where the editing is like you would see it on TV. And when I came across him, that's exactly what I was looking for. And when I reached out to him, he was so friendly and he was so helpful. And I was like, okay, well, this is perfect.
I have one main question that I would love to go over with your wedding in particular. You did get the package at the barn, right? The Rosemary barn? Right. So I would love to know, because I'm sure they presented you with the option, why at a particular venue. And for anybody who doesn't understand what I'm talking about, a package is when a venue, basically you pay them just a lump sum of money, and then the venue pulls together your vendor team and does basically everything for you. You get some say in customizations, but it's more like you show up, you get married if they take care of it, right? It's usually condensed to a list of only certain people that they work with, so your choices are limited, that kind of thing. That's not what they did. This venue does all, and they do an amazing job at it, but they chose to just book the venue and then source all of their vendors separately and have a custom experience. For you, why did you choose that route instead of just having the venue kind of take care of it for you?
So, interesting story. I went with the venue originally because of the all-inclusive package. We were overwhelmed with how expensive everything was getting when we were having to handpick vendors, and like certain venues were having specific requirements that were just putting our budget way over. And so when I found them and they had the all-inclusive, I was like, okay, well, this is going to take out all the guesswork. We know exactly how much it is. We're already going to have the vendors and it'll be perfect. And it kind of took our anxiety down a little bit. And then as we were going through and picking the vendors, we just already had some in our mind that we really wanted and they weren't on the list. And so I was like, I'm pretty sure that if I handpick the vendors, I can keep the price around the same. So that's why we went with that. And then I was wrong.
So the venue was 100%. I don't think we would have changed that regardless of knowing our budget. I think having a budget in the first place landed us finding them in the first place. I don't think we would have found them because we were looking just different stuff. I don't regret that at all. Like that venue for photos, how it looks, how it turned out for us.
Regardless of the money, I still would have.
Yeah, the size, the look, everything, it was perfect. Like would 10 out of 10 do it at that venue again? But I guess that brings us to the next thing. Be realistic, you know. A budget is a budget, but if you catch yourself going above it, you know, you have to kind of accept your world and stuff like that.
If you want it a certain way, if you want certain vendors, you know, you kind of have to expect some wiggle room eventually. Yeah.
Yes. And once we were okay with the wiggle room, it was, you know, full steam
Once
ahead.
you got over the panic.
Yeah, because it was initially a panic. I was like, no, you know, this is a house. Like, what are we doing? Like, just losing my mind. But it's something Bree really, really wanted. And at that point, I was like, well, then it's happening. But we're going to, like my parents taught us, we're going to do it right, you know?
Yeah.
So that definitely that's the truth behind it because, you know, everyone has their own wheelhouse. It's just recognizing like, if you want what you want, there's some places you can't cut corners. Photos was it for us. Video was it for us. Food, like those florals, those things we can't cut corners. And you got to accept that that comes with the price, especially as the industry changes. I mean, the work that gets put into it, it's night and day. Your photos versus other people's photos, it's night and day. So that's just something that's invaluable to us. So you just have to be realistic.
Right. And you guys already even said it. You did it the right way. You narrowed it down to some priorities and must-haves. And for it does, I don't think it matters what budget someone is working with. I think if you just from the get-go do some research and decide what are your top like things that you must have and it must be very high quality, start with that. And then you can fudge anything else. You know what I mean? You could have a brunch wedding so that your catering bill is lower, or have a food truck come out and everybody pays for their own food. Like there are so many ways to solve those problems as long as you don't skimp on the things that are your must-haves. But you got to decide that early, like you guys did. You already knew what you wanted. So
we were like, once we had you secured, we were like, I mean, maybe we just do Airbnb. We'll have great photos.
Right? Exactly. Like
we're all over the board.
Did you get tempted? Did you ever think like, never mind, let's just skip all of this and let's just go somewhere pretty?
Yes. I think the first year of our engagement while we were planning, that was me. Are you sure? Are you sure? Then the second year rolled in and I was like, no, we're doing this. Like, let's go. It's happening.
I'm sure you already know, but if at any point you guys had decided to just go somewhere and elope or whatever, I would have been 100% on board. I probably would have been like, look, I got suggestions, you know, or like, we've even had those in Oklahoma. Well, let's go.
I literally said, she goes, we already booked a photographer. I was like, I'm telling you, she'll travel.
Just look at my Instagram. You were like, no, she's got us. Let's just do it.
I said, we got the photographer. We're good to go. Like, that's it, you know? I think if anything, there's one thing we took from this. Like, there's like the three main things we took from this is that have people, like set people there to clean up at the end.
Yes.
It is an undertaking. If you plan on going out and continuing your fun or taking off, have people there. It takes a lot, you know, and you have to account for that. We were under the wrong impression. We misunderstood that our catering helped with the cleanup, but they helped clean up their stuff. We should have understood that.
They were like, we don't touch other people's crap. That's not
Literally.
our job.
That's our fault. And then have somebody, because your coordinator is going to be busy, if you have a coordinator, busy doing everything. So there's a chance something gets something doesn't get attended to in a time that it needs to. And one of those things for us was the bar. Somebody told the bar to close down an hour and a half before it was time to close down, which dwindled out our guests. They took that as, oh, the night's closing up.
Oh, yeah.
We had an entire hour left
that we'd paid for
of explicit hour, but it had our guests already assuming that our night was over. So if we would have had somebody who knew our contract and knew our timeline and knew everything, they could have gone to bat sooner. But unfortunately, our coordinator was busy with something else and we weren't aware of it until there was 20 minutes left and we lost.
Oh, until it already happened pretty much.
Yeah. So that's one of the things, was just have somebody who knows the ins and outs, like a friend, a family member, somebody, obviously a sober confidant that is going to be there.
That's the key part there, like not drunk.
Yes, a sober friend or family member who knows your contract times. Because, the unfortunate is you're wrapping up the end of the night, but it wrapped up a little too early for us.
Yeah.
Which didn't matter to us by that point. We were still switching clothes and singing every song that we wanted to hear. But, your friends got the wrong impression that the night was wrapping up.
Yeah. I did work with a coordinator a little bit ago that at first I thought this was overkill, but this actually makes a lot of sense to me now. She actually, amongst her binder and papers and things that she has with her, she actually printed out every contract from all the vendors who were there on the day. That way, if anything happened or if there was ever a question of services, she literally had the terms and conditions right there to like look at. And I truly was like, wow, that's a lot of stuff. I am not going to mess with you today. You know what you're doing. Cool. Wow. But yeah, that makes total sense, because that would have been a moment where you could just like, oh yeah, here's the thing. Here's the facts. Here's what's happening. It wouldn't have even been like a question.
It doesn't take away from the night. It's just one of those moments where you're like, if we would have thought ahead and had somebody else knowing the contract, they could have.
Right. Somebody just in the know. Yeah. So then I guess maybe that was your answer to this question, but if you were to change anything about the day, if you could go back and give yourself different advice or completely redo something in particular, what would that have been?
There's levels to that. For me, the first one is to know your face for the damn pictures. Because I couldn't stop making this giggle face. And I was like, stop. But that's number one for me. I don't know about.
I don't think that I would necessarily change anything, but if I could give advice, it's just stay fed, eat in the morning, eat while you're getting ready. Don't go too long without eating. You're gonna get distracted. Eat some food, drink some water. I waited too long to eat, and then by the time dinner was ready, I was so nervous I couldn't even eat. So that was unfortunate.
There's a TikTok trend that I'm almost tempted to try with you now that you said that about your giggle face, where practicing your wedding day smolder, and they're doing all the thing or whatever, and then how it actually turns out, and it's just pictures of them and the faces they actually made throughout the day, and you're just like, oh my god, that's the truest thing.
That's hilarious. I was practicing mine ahead of time too, and then I see the pictures. I was like, that's not what I was doing.
I didn't even practice. I messed up. I just thought, oh, okay, and I didn't know that when you say moody, he's gonna pose you facially moody, because I rely heavily on my smile. I'm just like, oh, I'll smile away.
Oh.
And he said no smiles, and I was like, shit. I fucked up.
You're like, what? How do I do that? I've been smiling all day.
It was giggles. I couldn't do it, and so it did show. It did show,
Oh,
but
100%.
It's okay. My mom hates it. Whatever.
I think they look.
Come on. I know you have. I know we all have like a version of ourselves in our minds that we expect in photos or whatever. But I mean, I have a hard time even picking out which photos of yours to share, because it's such a strange level of genuine joy. Like almost like, is she this way all the time? Look at that. Look at her. She's literally like,
Look at that.
She's even giggling when that doesn't seem like I think she's just standing alone there and she's still giggling. Like
100% Nikki. I was just happy. It's everything I love. It's music, it's Bree, it's food. It's looking
And good
good.
drinks.
Good dreams, So I was just having this. Someone asked me, and they're like, "Were you upset more people weren't dancing?" And I was like, "Not at all."
No, you were not.
Everyone
Not
could have
concerned.
been gone. I mean, I think the first song that came on was "Dirty" by Christina Aguilera, and everyone's still getting their food, and I'm just like, "No, it's go time." So no, everything. No, I'm fine. I'm fine.
Is there anything in particular, though, that you feel like is unique to you that other people ought to know or think about as they're still in their planning stages?
You're in the planning stages, there's going to be a lot of give and take. I think if you guys sit down and identify like why the idea is an idea in the first place, like why it means something to your partner, will help with that process. Because you might have a vision, and when you hear that theirs is something sentimental versus a bit more superficial, it helps aid in that give and take kind of idea of it. You can see that in our dresses. We're just very different people. But because that communication was there, the wedding ended up being exactly what I wanted and exactly what Bree wanted.
No, I love that. And that's a very real thing that I've even experienced. Like, for example, when we go through the decision of do we do a first look or not, most often I have to always try and figure out why they want it a certain way. What's the why? How are you feeling? What's the experience you want to have? And almost all the time it's important to them, not because it's traditional or neat, whatever the case may be, whichever direction they go. It's actually like if they don't want to first look, it's actually because they in their mind think doing it the traditional way is going to give them a feeling of intimacy and magic, and right, because that's how we dream it up in our head. And then when they say that, when we get down to the why, that's my opportunity to say, oh, well, then I'm here to tell you, for most people, that experience actually comes from the first look because it's private and you get to allow your emotions to come out and all of that kind of stuff. And then for some people, their why is they want to share that very special moment with family. They actually want people to be present. So even just deciding logistical things like that literally comes down to, why do I want this? Why is it important to me? And then talking about it, and being open to hearing if someone else's vision was different. Like, that's directly applicable to like all of it.
Today I said I would have done a first look. I misunderstood it. Just like you had mentioned, I misunderstood it. I just always envisioned that walk down, like, wow, right? But if there's anything I could have added, it would have been the first look.
Really? Okay. I
First
will say, though, I think you still had a very wonderful experience with that, with the walking down the aisle. So I'm very thankful that you actually had a beautiful first moment, right? So that's it. That's actually interesting. A little surprising that maybe you would have done it differently if you'd already had that experience.
I think that kind of knowledge came after our last dance. That's private. It just was, wow. I would have liked more private moments with Bree once I realized how deep and intimate it can get.
Oh, wow. This is the first time we've actually been alone together. Did that cross your mind?
It did, but it was the first time I was like, wow, like there was no speaking, there was no nothing. It was just kind of like sinking in and realizing all of it. So it didn't mean I didn't realize it throughout it, but now knowing that feeling and experiencing that feeling then, it would have been pretty cool to experience it right off the bat.
Mm-hmm. I also remember when everything was getting set up, because you had said earlier that you didn't have any time, right, in the beginning of the day to do anything yourself. Would you have preferred that? Or when you came out and saw everything like done and ready and decorated, did you feel relieved?
Going into it, I was worried. Yes, I would have preferred before seeing everything to do it myself because I was worried. But then when I came out and I saw the way that like these people were able to put together a vision that had only existed in my head before now, and the way they did it was better than I could have even imagined. So if I wouldn't have changed a thing, because the way that it all came together was even better than I think I could have done myself. They did such an amazing job. So no, I wouldn't have changed it.
Oh, yay. And I'm definitely going to link all of the vendors and of course everybody that like helped bring that vision to life in all of these, because I truly think each person did a phenomenal job for you. I hope I did all right. I hope I also gave you some of that vision that lived in your head. So
Oh, for sure. It was without a doubt. And it started with finding you as our photographer. Literally the vision kind of panned off of finding you as a photographer.
I mean, the day would not have been as perfect as it was without you and without the coordinator and without Amelia, the florist. You guys put everything together, and I'm beyond thankful. I can't thank you guys enough for just the way the day went. I couldn't have happened the way that it did without you guys.
You know, when you feel a little bit protective over something, where you're like, haha, you know, that's how I feel about our photos and having you as our photographer. I'm just like, haha, you know, we did it better. Like, I hate to say that, but like, I mean, you know, it's your wedding day. You get a little competitive and like, you know, I'm like, look at mine. So it definitely just would 10 out of 10. Even if I'm just having a birthday party, I'm like, we need Hannah Hicks. She needs to snap it all off.
Well, I know I've already talked your ear off, and I'm sure you've got lovely things to do today other than gabbing and listening to me. So thank you a million times for making time today. Truly, I was just so unreasonably excited. It was a little embarrassing how excited I was when you scheduled. I was like, oh my God, yes. Maybe I crafted this whole series just to wrangle you guys into another chat, but all right. Well, I love you guys very, very much. Thank you again. And I hope you enjoy the heck out of your day.
You too. And have a good weekend.
Thank you so much.
All right. See you guys.
Bye.
Bye.